And that's all the sport for now. There'll be more after the news at 2 o'clock.
The home of entertainment, it's all for you. Radio 2.
Wakey, wake! Good afternoon, everybody. This is Billy Cotton introducing another Billy Cotton Band Show.
It's 20 years yesterday since that voice was stilled. It was the voice of a man who is not only my father, but my friend and my hero. For nigh on 50 years, it was a voice that had been in the forefront of music and entertainment in Britain. But he'd also been a soldier, a sailor, an airman, a racing driver, and generally an all-round sportsman. For over 40 years, he epitomised to many the best of British. And when people hear the music he used to play, they swear they can still smell the Sunday roast.
I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. There they are a-standing in a row. Big ones, small ones, some as big as your head. Give 'em a twist, a flick of the wrist, that's what the showman said. I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. Not every ball you throw will make me rich. Oh, there stands me wife, the idol of me life, singing roll-a-bowl-a ball, a penny a pitch. Singing roll-a-bowl-a ball, a penny a pitch. Singing roll-a-bowl-a ball, a penny a pitch. Oh, roll-a-bowl-a ball, roll-a-bowl-a ball, singing roll-a-bowl-a ball, a penny a pitch.
Roll up, 3 shillings a penny. Now what you knock down, you take away. What about you, lady? Come on, have a basin full.
Oh, no, really, I couldn't possibly manage to...
Oh, go on, Mum, have a go. You didn't do so bad to the night when you threw frying pan at me dad.
Oh, yes, but that was different, you see. It was a large frying pan and your father's such a fat fella,
Now then, make up your mind, lady. Either you're going to have a go at the coconuts or you ain't going to have a go at the coconuts.
Now then, look here, young man.
You didn't do so bad to the night when you threw frying pan at me dad. Oh!
There you are. I told you you'd get it if you were saucy, didn't I?
I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts.
They're lovely.
There they are, standing in a row.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Big ones, small ones, some as big as your head.
And bigger.
Give 'em a twist, a flick of the wrist, that's what the showman said.
Now then, I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. And every ball you throw will make me rich. Oh, there stands me wife, the idol of me life, singing roll-a-bowl-a ball, a penny a pitch. All together.
Singing roll-a-bowl-a ball, a penny a pitch.
Harmony.
Singing roll-a-bowl-a ball, a penny a pitch.
Roll-a-bowl-a ball.
Roll-a-bowl-a ball.
Singing roll-a-bowl-a ball, a penny a pitch.
I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. A good, bright song in 6/8 time. But his life was filled with all sorts of music, even from a very early age. He was born in 1899 in Smith Square, Westminster, the youngest of 10 children.
Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner that I love London so. Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner that I think of her wherever I go.
A true Londoner. By his own admission, he was a minor tearaway, jump in the trams, swim in the Thames, climbing the rooftops. Whenever he got caught, which was often, he'd get a good hiding from his father or his headmaster, affectionately known as Whacker Skulls.
What's all this about my William not getting the Maundy money, Mr. Scholes? You gave it to all my other children.
Mrs. Cotton, I simply cannot bring myself to recommend him for it. He's not a bad boy, but he's mischievous and disobedient. He's broken out once or twice, and on other occasions forgotten to come to school at all. Not to mention the times he's forgotten to attend Sunday school. But I want you to know, when he leaves, I shall be very sorry. His skipper's a good football team, a good cricket team, and his swimming is excellent. But I regret, Mrs. Cotton, No Maundy money.
But he sings like an angel. How can such a scruffy, grubby face sing so beautifully?
The school was St Margaret's in Dean Farrar Street, attached to the church of the same name. There he was taught by the famous choirmaster Gus Custard and sang at the society weddings and on high days and holidays. Meanwhile, the local scout troop introduced him to another type of music. His best mate was one Fred Thatcher. No, it couldn't be. Either way, they both became buglers. He didn't stay in the Scouts long. The Great War arrived, and like many other keen young lads, he rushed to the recruiting office, claimed he was 16 and joined the army. He was posted to the 2nd City of London Battalion, the London Regiment Royal Fusiliers, and became a bugler-drummer. Training was followed by a seasick-ridden voyage to Malta, where he was a bugler at the Governor's Palace and a part-time recruitment officer for the Salvation Army. He would stand at the top of the hill that led to the Sleazy Quarter, hit a tambourine and shout, "That's the way to the devil, this is the way to the Lord," and point to the Sally Army hut. For this he got a cup of tea and a fairy cake. To a growing lad, that was quite a treat. Soon, though, his unit left the relative comfort of Malta and sailed via Egypt to a part of the world whose name was shortly to become infamous, the Dardanelles.
All right, lads, we're here. All ashore who's going ashore. Come on, Cotton. Here, son, where's your rifle?
I don't want a rifle. Look at the badge on my arm. I'm a bugler, see?
There's only one bloke blowing horn tonight. That's Gabriel, and he's up in heaven, and you'll be thinking well with him if you don't catch on.
Thus began W.E. Cotton's contribution to the hard-fought Gallipoli campaign. And it was here that he developed a lasting admiration for the Anzacs. Although he never got to Australasia, he became well known there and is still to this day. He returned to Britain and was now old enough to be trained as a pilot for the Royal Flying Corps. He took to his training like the natural flyer he was. But having passed the course, he was just being held at Yatesbury, waiting to go over to France, when his headstrong ways landed him in trouble. If landed is the right word. Showing off one day, he attempted to fly through an open hangar. He made it, but someone had inadvertently left an aeroplane lying around on the other side. Lying flat on his back, waiting to be cut out of the wreckage and stretchered to hospital, he looked up and saw his CO looming over him.
Cotton, you ruddy Hun. I don't mind you killing yourself, but you've actually cost us a brand new Bristol fighter. That we can't afford. Oh, get this man to hospital as soon as you can.
And that was the end of his war. For him and many others, demobilisation meant unemployment. Lots of odd jobs followed. Plumbing, butchering, and the basic training in the dance band business. He cashed in on his army experience by drumming for the Fifth Avenue Dance Orchestra. This was neither as glamorous or as American as it sounded, since the Fifth Avenue of the title happened to be the one in Queen's Park, London, where his mate was living at the time. The band was moderately successful. They played at school dances, graduated to Saturday night gigs, and ended up playing the Skinner's Hall Ludgate Circus for £2 a night. He did a bit of motorcycle racing on a Norton that he bought with his RFC gratuity. But it was playing football which became his obsession. Games with Maida United led to interest from Brentford. He got a trial.
All right, Cotton, you are now a member of Brentford Football Club. It's just one thing to remember about Brentford, son. We can't play football, but we make sure no one else does. Got it?
Wimbledon also showed an interest, and one way and another he ended up playing for both. Whatever the referees did to him, he obviously got his own back later on his Sunday shows.
Oh, what a referee! What a referee! What a referee! He went and lost his feet, and his head to wood and whistle, wood and whistle. There was a referee, a famous man was he, and here's the story how he won his pay. One day there was a scene upon the village green when he turned out to ref the local game. All together now! Oh, 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 what a referee! Oh, what a referee! What a referee! Oh, 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 he went and lost his beat, and his head to wood and whistle, wood and whistle, 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 his head to wood and whistle, wood and whistle.
His bachelor life came to an end as a direct result of a visit to the Cricklewood skating rink.
Hello again.
Hello again.
I was here last week.
I know. You heard I was the gold medalist skater and you told me you could become one easily after only a couple of lessons.
Yeah, I didn't do too badly though, did I?
No.
What does he do, your sweetheart?
He's not my sweetheart.
He took you home last week in his sidecar.
He's just a friend. Anyway, he won't be taking me home tonight.
Ah, I'm glad about that because I was about to go and let his tyres down.
You wouldn't do a thing like that.
Wouldn't I? You tell me I'm not taking you home tonight and you'll see whether I would or not.
Marriage to my mother, Mabel Hope Gregory, soon followed.
Hey, Mabel!
There's the girl who lives next door to me, who's got the fellas all up a tree. They go for her in a great big way, but she won't give them a tumble, and here is what they say. When she's walking down the street, all the boys yell mighty sweet, hey Mabel, wait for me. When she wears that diamond ring, all the boys begin to sing, hey Mabel, wait for me. She's as popular as a gal can be, a household name in every family. But the one she wants so bad ain't the guy who yells like mad, hey Mabel, wait for me. When I'm walking down the street, all the boys yell mighty sweet,
Hey, Mabel! Wait for me!
when I wear this diamond ring, all the boys begin to sing,
Hey, Mabel!
Wait for me. I'm as popular as a gal can be, a household name in every family. But the one I want so bad ain't the guy who yells like mad, hey Mabel, wait for me.
Now married, the serious business of earning a living started. He joined the London General Omnibus Company and worked on the buses by day whilst playing the dance halls by night. Gigs at the Wembley Exhibition, Ealing Palais and the Regent Brighton followed. But it was as a drummer with a new band he'd formed, Billy Cotton and his London Savannah Band, that he got his first big engagement at the Southport Palais. It was here he met the man who became the pianist and took over the musical running of the outfit, Clem Bernard. His first act was to suggest that they change the drummer. From then on, Billy Cotton stood at the front and conducted. Clem was a lovely man, but at first quite sensitive about his diminutive stature and hunchback. Over the years, however, he overcame his shyness and became a great favourite with the public. He was a man with no enemies and a fair pianist too. After Southport came the Liverpool Rialto, the Streatham Locarno, the Astoria Charing Cross Road and many other dance venues, including both the Oxford and Cambridge University balls, finishing up with the plum offer to play the swankiest club in London, Ciro's. It has to be said, Ciro's wasn't quite my father's cup of tea.
Excuse me, Mr. Cotton.
Yes?
His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales.
Here again, is he?
See, he's with the gentleman, Lord Tennyson's party, yes. His Royal Highness wondered if you might play the waltz intermezzo from Cavalleria Rusticana.
What, again? Oh, go and ask the silly so-and-so if he knows any other tune.
Cotton.
Yes, sir?
Call me old-fashioned, but I do not think it is quite the done thing to tell our head waiter to approach the heir to the throne with the express task of inquiring whether or not the silly so-and-so knows any other tunes.
Well, I'm trying to get the people to dance. The waltz intermezzo clears the floor every time I play it.
Yes, I understand entirely, Cotton. Be that as it may, I shall have to ask you to leave.
What? Oh, all right. End of the week.
I was thinking more along the lines of tonight. Maybe our Paris establishment would suit your temperament better.
So they left for a successful season at Ciro's in Paris. He wasn't much good at ingratiating himself with the more boisterous elements of his dancing public. They'd pull at the tails of his dress suit to get a request played, and he couldn't stand it. So he decided to put something between him and the audience. A large orchestra pit. Billy Cotton and the Savannahs became a show band in the theatres.
Smile, Tanya, smile. You know this whole world is a great world after all. Smile, Tanya, smile. And right away watch Lady Luck pay you a call. Things are never black as they are painted. Time for you and George to get acquainted. Make life worthwhile. Come on and smile, Tanya, smile.
Of course, comedy was the name of the game, and he specialised in it. He jumped on every song that caused a smile, especially if it was a bit cheeky.
Hello, old chap. You're looking miserable. How would you be miserable? I'm sad and disappointed, I'm as sore as I can be. When the missus finds what happened, she'll be more upset than me. There'll be no peace for me at home, it's sure to cause some strife. I've lost the only thing that seemed to charm our married life. I had it when I left the house at 10:30. I had it in me hand all right. I showed it to a woman at the corner then. It filled her with delight. The wife will want to play with it when I get home, but I can't find it, oh no. It means we'll have to part, it's sure to break her heart when she finds I've gone and lost me little yo-yo. I showed it to Matilda, she's the barmaid at the Crown. I taught her how to play with it and swing it up and down. It fairly took her fancy, perhaps she's stolen it from me. I dare not tell the wife in case it causes jealousy. I had it when I left the house at 10:30. I had it in me hand all right. I showed it to a woman at the corner then. It filled her with delight. The wife will want to play with it when I get home, but I can't find it, oh no. She'll miss it, there's no doubt. She's sure to throw me out when she finds I've gone and lost me little yo-yo.
It all went well. Big bands were big business, and he was gaining his share of the cake. Some weeks he played the variety theatres, some weeks cine-variety, a form of entertainment which included 2 films and a stage show. He'd do 7 shows a day, doubling between cinemas like the Dominion Tottenham Court Road and the Trocadero Elephant and Castle. He was making records and broadcasts. There were Sunday concerts at seaside towns and one-night stands which he called flying visits, which, as far as my father was concerned, they literally were. The band would travel to these gigs by coach. He would fly there with his nephew and long-time close friend Laurie Johnson. They would use his Puss Moth aeroplane, land at the local aerodrome, and get a decent amount of publicity. That was until one day in the pilot's room at Croydon...
Fancy another before the off, Laurie?
OK.
Whose is that moth outside?
Mine. Why?
You ought to put her away. You won't be flying this afternoon. The weather's clamped right down.
But we've got a show in Leicester. Tonight. What do we do, Lau?
Well, we better get started. It's going to be a long flight.
It's no good, Lau. Haven't been able to see a thing for ages. And we're just about out of juice. I'll have to try and put her down.
Yes, but where are we?
Well, if we run into a cathedral spire, it's Peterborough, I think. Hang on.
There! I see a field!
Right. What's that?
A fence! In the middle of the field! Another one!
What on earth?
Lost, rapidly running out of fuel, and in almost zero visibility, Billy Cotton and Laurie Johnson found themselves doing a steeplechase over a racecourse. But they managed to land safely just before they ran into the stables at the end. About this time, motor racing appeared on the Billy Cotton scene. He bought Malcolm Campbell's original Bluebird, which he raced against aeroplanes on Southport Sands, and in quick succession a Riley, a K3 MG Magnet and an ERA. He did well enough to qualify as a member of the British Racing Drivers Club, and driving the ERA, he was part of the British team which won the 1938 British Grand Prix Team Prize. About the same time, his love of the sea led to him buying a motor cruiser which he moored at Sandbanks in Poole Harbour. He bought a house there and soon became a member of the Royal Motor Yacht Club. Many were the times he would drive through the night after the last show on Saturday to be on the water bright and early Sunday morning. But the carefree days came to an end. Appeasement led to war. A nervous nation, however, was given a bit of Dutch courage by some pretty jingoistic popular songs of the day.
We're gonna hang out the washing on the Siegfried line. Have you any dirty washing, mother dear? We're gonna hang out.
He played them all, and after the war, Lionel Bart wrote a song he just couldn't resist.
Oh, who's this geezer Hitler? Who does he think he is? We'll show that Fuhrer, it's surer than surer that he will soon get his. If he was much littler, he would disappear. He's a nasty little basket with a black moustache, and we won't have him here. He was a paper hanger when he started his career as Mrs. Schicklgruber's only son. Oh, dear adult Dr. Clanger, if he thinks he's coming here, we don't want any paper hanging done.
So, who's this geezer Hitler? Who does he think he is? We'll show that Fuhrer is surer than surer that he will soon get his.
If he was much littler, he would disappear.
He's a nasty little basket with a black moustache, and we won't have him here.
They say he had a father and his father had his fun. He stayed around to see how long it lasted. Then Adolf came along and his papa went on the run, and that's why poor old Adolf's flabbergasted.
Oh, who's this geezer Hitler? Who does he think he is? We'll show that Fuhrer is surer than surer that he will soon get his. If he was much littler, he would disappear. He's a nasty little basket with a black moustache, and we won't have him here.
used to say songs like that probably extended the war by 7 years. At the sound of the first siren, he was off to put his skill as a pilot at the disposal of what he imagined would be a grateful Royal Air Force. He stood the band down and reported to Northolt.
Cotton WE reporting for duty.
Ah, good to have you aboard, Mr. Cotton.
When do I fly? Just show me my Spitfire and I'll get on with it.
It isn't quite like that, I'm afraid. We're posting you as adjutant for number 1 Mobile Squadron.
Admin? But I can hardly write. I can fly aeroplanes.
But you're 40.
Fit enough to drive a racing car. I volunteered so I could fly. Look, maybe you need ferry pilots.
Well, this is obviously out of my jurisdiction. I think you better go and talk to your friend at the Air Ministry who got you in and see if he can get you out.
So he did, and they came to a deal. They'd forget he joined up and he would take his band to entertain the troops in France. He did just that. Later, my brother Ted became the flyer of the family. He was a Mosquito pilot to the very great pride of my father. His own connection with the RAF, however, and all things to do with flying remained very strong. So it was no wonder that after the war he went to the first night of the film The Dam Busters, and it was even less of a wonder that the theme music to that film turned up in his very next broadcast.
covering you. Good luck.
A large part of my father's war was spent touring the length and breadth of Britain with the band.
Fall in and follow me. Fall in and follow me.
Come along and never mind the weather. All together, stand on me, boys.
I know the way to go. I'll take you for a spree.
You do as I do and you'll do right. Fall in and follow me.
I know the way to go. I'll take you for a spree.
You do as I do and you'll do right. Fall in and follow me.
Like so many others, he began to feel the Luftwaffe was aiming for him personally. Plymouth, Bristol, Weston-super-Mare, where he lost all his instruments and his music library, Birmingham, Coventry, Liverpool. One might say he went with quite a bang wherever he appeared. The end of the war brought Billy Cotton, Britain's brightest band leader, as he was billed, a different sort of problem. There was a different kind of music around, and a new crop of bands playing it, notably the great Ted Heath Band. Everybody knew Billy Cotton, but nobody wanted to pay to see him anymore. Variety itself was dying. Things went from bad to worse, and in the winter of 1947, it looked like he might have to find some other way of earning a living. He eventually agreed to do one last tour of the country with Tessie O'Shea, in a road show called Tess and Bill. It was work, and it kept the band in work. At the same time, he made an impromptu visit to an Australian called Jim Davidson. He'd just been put in charge of booking bands at the BBC. It was a typically forthright encounter.
Good to see you, Bill. How can I help you?
I'm Dad, if you can. I just wanted you to know I hold the BBC entirely responsible for my predicament.
For what?
During the war, you lot couldn't get enough of me and my music. Now suddenly, not a dicky bird. I'm not a vindictive man, but I do...
A dozen broadcasts, do you?
It's no good making excuses. As far as I'm concerned... Pardon?
How does, say, 12 weekly broadcasts on a Tuesday evening sound to you?
Don't talk rubbish.
But I thought you wanted work.
I'm on tour all over the country, in the theatres every evening. What good's Tuesday nights to me?
Well then, how about Sundays? You don't perform then, do you?
Sundays? The BBC wouldn't dare broadcast me on Sundays. But if you're game, I am.
And so the Sunday broadcasts were born.
Now, Johnny Brown from London town was born in Lambeth Walk. And now that Johnny's growing up, they're teaching him to talk. Maybe in society, they think his accent's bad. But down our street, they think that he's a credit to his dad. Johnny Brown was 2 today. What do you think they heard him say? 40,000 feathers on a thrush. No one but a Cockney kid could say the way that Johnny did. 40,000 feathers on a thrush. Mum was so excited, Dad was so delighted. Bells in every steeple rang out to tell the people. London's mighty proud today. Another Cockney's learnt to say 40,000 feathers on a thrush. Now then, fellows, after me, let's sing it like the BBC. 40,000 feathers on a thrush.
Market cats, that's not the way.
Now what would Stuart Hibbert say?
40,000 feathers on a thrush.
Purse the mouth politely.
Wet the whistle slightly.
All together brightly. A 1, a 2.
And the same to you.
Now turn it up, you saucy clots. I'm coming down here to do the lot.
40,000 feathers on a thrush.
Professor William Cotton will now address a gang and tell you all about the thrush in good old rhyming slang.
Every little thrush has got a weasel and a stoat. When you say his weasel, you're talking to his throat. 40,000 feathers on a thrush. His weasel is the lining of his bushel and peck. A bump on the bushel is a pimple on the neck. 40,000 feathers on a thrush. First you've got his weasel, then you've got his bushel. Next you've got his bubble and squeak, his bloomin' beak. Taken all together, he's Richard III. So when you get the Richard there, giving you the bird. 40,000 feathers on a thrush.
You are a coward.
40,000 feathers.
Yes.
40,000 feathers.
Yes.
40,000 feathers on a thrush.
This Sunday date with his audience was his pride and joy, and it lasted until he died over 20 years later. At first, they were broadcast in the morning. The band would drive through the night from where they'd been performing Tess and Bill, rehearse the show first thing, and were ready to go live at 10:30. On the first show, they were all so shattered that Billy gave them a word of encouragement.
Wakey, wake!
It stuck, and it stayed with him for the rest of his life. It just got louder and longer.
Connie, Connie, won't you come into the cornfield with me? There was her brother.
The early shows featured favourites like Connie in the Cornfield, Friends and the Neighbours, Sunshine of Your Smile and Shrimp Boats. Reaction was swift, but not quite what some of the hierarchy of the BBC had expected.
Dear BBC, as Vicar of St Mary's, I must protest most strongly about the placing of the Billy Cotton Band show at 10:30 on a Sunday morning. Whilst I cannot deny his good humour and exuberant music puts my parishioners into a bright frame of mind for the rest of the Sabbath, they do insist on listening right up until the very end of the broadcast. I am thus frequently obliged to witness the sight of the majority of my congregation arriving halfway through the collect. They miss the prayers of penitence altogether.
His broadcasts were moved. They eventually ended up at 1:30 Sunday lunchtime and reminded many a harassed housewife it was time the old man was back from the pub. The regulars were the multi-talented Alan Breeze, Doreen Stevens and later Kathy Kay. The trumpeter Grisha Farfel, Johnny Johnson, Rita Williams, the Highlights and the Bandits. A wide variety of extremely popular music. The bits in between the music had their regulars too. The Man in the Flying Saucer, Hey You Down There with the Glasses, Mr. and Mrs. Spiegel, Alan Breeze's old actor character, Johnson. They all became part of the show. He also enjoyed his singing. Whilst his voice was no longer angelic, his ability to sing was what helped him when he needed to express his feelings for Clem Bernard the day he died. Clem had remained the musical brain behind the band and used to conduct the broadcast, leaving my father free to concentrate on the script. He joined the band on a week's trial 33 years before, and only that week he'd wondered aloud to all of us if he'd finally got the job. The following Sunday at rehearsal, he complained of feeling dizzy and collapsed as my father helped him down off the rostrum. He died 2 days later. The next Sunday, we all held our breath while the old warhorse sang to the old retainer. He sang Smile, and he just made it. Up until the mid-50s, television was not exactly on his agenda, mainly because it didn't pay enough. It was fine for comedians and singers to try their luck on the emerging medium, but he had a band to keep, and that came to 22 pay packets every week. Television just didn't pay that sort of money. The arrival of commercial television changed all that. Ronnie Waldman, the head of entertainment at the BBC, was given an increase in his budget to compete with the energetic opposition. He could go for the big names now. The format for the television band show was the brainchild of Brian Tesler, now chairman of London Weekend Television, but then a young and brilliant light entertainment producer, fresh from Oxford, or Cambridge, as my father insisted, on the principle that it was all the same to him. The problem Brian and the old man had was that the stage show format, a headmaster in charge of an unruly bunch of musical delinquents, and the classic radio show format, that of my father being the pivot of the programme, would not work as easily on the more visual medium. Besides which, in order to justify bringing the band show to television at all, they'd have to prove that television could do something a bit different with the format. Brian had the idea of forming a new troupe of dancing girls under the best man in that business, Leslie Roberts. They were called the Silhouettes, and each week they would surround him, he would dance with them, sing with them, and once in a while, ever so gently, tell them,
In the land of San Domingo lived a girl called Oh by Jingo. From the fields and from the marshes came the old and young by goshes. They all spoke with a different lingo, but they all loved Oh by Jingo. And every night they sang in the foul moonlight.
Oh by gee, by gosh, by gum, by chub, by golly, by gum, by chub.
Oh by Jingo, won't you hear my love? Won't you hear my love?
We will build for you a hut. You will be our favourite nut.
We'll have a lot of little oh by gollies, then we'll put them in the follies.
Oh by Jingo said, by gosh, by gee, by golly, by gosh, by gee.
By Jiminy, please don't bother me.
So they all went away singing oh by gee, by gosh, by gum, by chub, by Jingo. By gee, you're the only girl for me. By Jingo said, by gosh, by gee, by golly, by gosh, by gee.
By Jiminy, please don't bother me.
So they all went away singing oh by gee, by gosh, by gum, by chub, by Jingo. Oh by Jingo, you're the one for me.
What, me?
Yes, you.
The classic Beauty and the Beast formula. It gave my father a frame for his ability to give value for money. Seeing this 60-year-old matching the girls step for step was pure magic. Another feature were the duets with the guest stars. A whole string of performers, youngsters starting off like Adam Faith, Cilla Black and Cliff Richard, established names like Harry Seacombe, Max Bygraves, Frankie Vaughan, and transatlantic stars like Stubby Kaye, Jane Mansfield and Bob Hope. He loved working with them all. But as all the shows were live, not many remain on videotape. But of his regular favourites, there was one young man who just rocketed to stardom.
Not bad, not bad. But listen, is that the lot?
Not yet, Mr. Cotton, not quite yet. Don't forget, we still have our duets.
You mean you and I must sing?
I mean just that very thing.
Well, I regret, Mr. Conway, nothing said.
Aha, but never mind, Mr. Cotton, never mind. You will find if we're feeling so inclined, words will tumble from our lips.
We shall sound a pair of drips.
But that's the kind of word that we must leave behind. Just think of us as Bill and Russ, a double act that's aiming at the top.
Or Russ and Bill, an act that will, without a song, be wrong enough to flop.
Without a song, our act could never end.
Without a song, we wouldn't have a friend.
Just scrape along without a cent to spend.
Without a song.
What are we talking about? That's defeat, Mr. Cotton, that's defeat. Just repeat to yourself, there's no retreat.
You mean let's put up a fight?
Well, exactly.
Well, all right, I'll compete till success is quite complete.
Fine. Now imagine it, Mr. Cotton, our names up in lights. Conway and Cotton, the two C's.
Just a couple of Charlies, eh?
Success, followed by success.
Until what?
Until we retire.
They'll never let us go.
They'll have to. But what will they do without us?
It'll leave a big gap.
Yeah, well, you speak for yourself. What will they do without us?
Who will there be after me and Russ?
Where can they see so much genius?
What will they do without us? What will they do without we?
You're quite right, Bill. Who'll be a thrill after Bill and me?
Who'll have our skill and ability?
What will they do without us? The entertainment industry will be so frantic,
losing all the talent that is us.
But Bill, you're such a personality,
and you're so romantic,
with song and dance and music as a plus.
Very good. You played that very well, Mr. Conway.
And I must say, Mr. Cotton, you conducted yourself very, very well. It just shows you, Mr. Cotton, what will they do without you?
If you weren't there, mate, who else would do?
Well, I suppose at a pinch there are one or two who might partner me without fuss.
Oh, yes?
Well, there's Max Bygraves, Harry Seacombe, Norman Wisdom, and Alma Cogan.
Huh?
And she's prettier.
Well, there's Samprini, Winnie Apple, Bill McGuffey, Jimmy Logan.
Hey?
He can play the piano and smile.
All right. Tony Hancock.
Joe Henderson.
Jimmy Edwards.
Fred Emney.
Do you mind? He speaks very well about you.
Well, I reciprocate.
Bill, mate, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yes, mate, I am.
We say, what will they do without us?
Expect them to make an enormous fuss.
But from the names we have mentioned, it's obvious, though we'd hope to excel, it's quite easy to tell. They would do very well, only too well without us.
And of course, there was his favourite girlfriend, the young lady who died tragically far too soon, Alma Cogan.
Well, come on, Bill. I think it's about time we did our duet.
Oh, no. You get the fellow you stood me up to have tea with this afternoon. Let him sing with you.
Stood you up? Well, it was only because you were so busy with the silhouettes. I saw you. 1 cup of tea and 12 straws.
Ah, well, I'm a bit popular, you know. In fact, I'm not much to look at.
You're not, are you?
Nothing to see.
True.
Just glad I'm living and I'm lucky to be.
Why aren't you smiling then?
'Cause I've got a someone crazy for me.
She must be crazy.
She's funny that way.
She's a bit odd, isn't she?
When I hurt her feelings once in a while,
You couldn't do that, Bill.
her only answer is one little smile.
No teeth, but a lovely smile.
'Cause I've got a someone crazy for me.
She's round the bend.
She's funny that way.
She's halfway back.
How about you, funny boy?
Oh. This is the way I see it, Bill.
Go on, you got your laugh.
Someday you'll come along, the man I love, and he'll be big and strong.
You need to be an all.
Flatterer. And when he comes my way, I'll do my best to make him stay.
You'll need a padlock and chain.
Maybe I shall meet him Sunday, maybe Monday, maybe...
I doubt it.
But I'm sure to meet him someday. Maybe Tuesday will be my good news day.
Wait, a telegram for you.
Would you open it for me, Bill?
Certainly.
Go on, then.
Says here, how about me? I'm still available, and I'm doing nothing. Signed, Liberace.
Don't worry, Bill.
I won't.
'Cause you were meant for me.
And I was meant for you.
Nature patterned you, and when she was done,
You were all the sweet things rolled up in one.
you're like a belated melody that never, ever sets me free.
For I'm content, and the angels must have sent you.
And they meant you just for me.
Should we dance?
Let's.
You know, Alma, when I dance with you, I feel really light on my feet.
You're only half right.
What do you
You're
mean?
light, but you're on my feet. Oh, I'm content.
And
The angels must have sent you, and they meant you just for me.
Life for William Edward Cotton, therefore, was once again firing on all 4 cylinders. He had the stage show, the radio show, the recording sessions, and the TV show. But in 1963, he suffered a stroke. As with all of his life's setbacks, he treated it with the contempt it deserved.
Why worry? Why worry? Worry gets you nowhere at all. When the sky is darkest, never despair. Find that silver lining, for there's always one there. For why?
One minute he was dying, the next, or so it seemed, he was back on the radio and the television. But it wasn't the same, and he knew. Certainly he worked in the clubs, a few weeks in theatres, a summer season in Jersey, but slowly the things he couldn't do began to upset him. During this period also, his daughter-in-law Boo, my wife, died, and so did my brother Ted. There were further blows he had to ride, but through it all, the band played on.
At 17, you're very green. but learning fast. At 21, your life is fun. A man at last, strong as an oak, perpetually broke, but ready to come out fighting. Love running true to form, so warm, so exciting. Then 32 and 42 go swiftly by, and all the things you used to do, you no longer try. And you say that love is overrated, and that kissing leaves you cold. But suddenly you realize you're growing old. Oh, these stairs. Gee, I'm tired. I was never like this before. Then 32 and 42 go swiftly by, and all the things you used to do, you no longer try. And you say that love is overrated, and that kissing leaves you cold. But suddenly you realize you're growing old.
By 1969, he'd done it. He was among the most recognizable and loved performers in the country, but he couldn't do the trick anymore. It was becoming difficult to do the sort of work he wanted. On Friday, March the 21st, 1969, he agreed to see Alan Andrews, a writer who was going to prepare his life story. He spent all day talking into a tape machine. During the weekend, he was his usual exuberant self, full of stories and laughter. On the Tuesday, he went to see Billy Walker's last fight at Wembley. He loved going to the fights, and the fight fans loved seeing him there. Many's the time he and the spectators would engage in a bit of banter between the bouts. And many's the time a boxer who just received a knockout punch would be assailed with cries of "wakey, wakey" from around the ringside. On this particular night, he was sitting in the restaurant overlooking the boxing ring. He'd had a good meal with good friends, and he was thoroughly enjoying himself. But when the bell went for the 7th round, he just didn't come out of his corner.
Billy Cotton died on March the 25th, 1969, whilst watching a boxing match at Wembley. He was buried on March the 31st. The funeral service took place, as he would have wished, in St Margaret's, Westminster.
Give me my hat. Here, Johnson, you've had a good time shooting everybody this morning, haven't you? Pass me the band leader's friend. I'll do you a favour.
Oh, no.
Give us it here, now. There you are. Take that home and bathe it.
Ta-da.
That was the Billy Cotton Band Show 20 years since. The programme was narrated by Bill Cotton, who also wrote the script with Martin Booth. Taking part were Peter Goodright, John Glover and Sally Grace. The programme was produced by Richard Wilcox.
Yes, indeed. I bet that brought back a lot of memories for you. But looking ahead now, next Wednesday you're invited to listen to another band. And this week it's the Roberts Bakery Band, conducted by Colin Cranson. Roy Newson presents Listen to the Band next Wednesday evening at 9 o'clock. But coming next, it's the Benny Green Show. The time now on Radio 2 is 2 o'clock.
Radio 2.
With the news, Jean Chalice.
At any moment now, the Piper Alpha platform in the North Sea will be blown up and the remains of the wreckage pulled apart to allow the structure to fall onto the seabed. 167 men died in last year's disaster, and the remains of the structure are now a danger to shipping. But because of the weather, there have been numerous delays, and the original plan to destroy the platform an hour ago was postponed. The Foreign Office in London is looking into a Kuwaiti newspaper report that a yacht with 4 Britons on board has been seized in the Gulf by the Iranian Navy. The details from Leslie Kerwin.
The newspaper Al Anbar says the yacht, owned by a wealthy Arab tycoon, was hijacked while sailing between Bahrain and Kuwait last Thursday. Those on board are identified as 4 Britons and 7 prominent Arabs, 5 of them members of a ruling family in the Gulf. The report said the yacht had been escorted by Iranian ships to an Iranian island, believed to be the island of Farsi. The newspaper said it had the names of all those on board, but wouldn't release them, in case it affected the secret contacts going on at the highest level with Iran to end the incident. The Foreign Office in London has been in touch with the British Embassy in Kuwait, but a spokesman said they have no information. Kuwaiti officials have said they have no knowledge of any hijacking, and an Iranian embassy spokesman in Kuwait said they had no information either.
4 British soldiers and 4 Australians with the United Nations force in Namibia in southern Africa have been involved in a fight following a rugby match. They were invited to the game, but afterwards some of the local whites apparently objected to the presence of UN soldiers and attacked them. One of the British troops has a suspected broken jaw, and some of the others have superficial injuries. The Bishop of Durham, Dr. Jenkins, has admitted that he's trying to shake the faith of Christians by his latest and controversial declaration on the resurrection. But Dr. Jenkins put it this way: "I'm only trying to shake them so that they fall into the arms of God." And that's the news. Now at the sports desk, here's Ian Payne.
Thank you. The vital First Division football match at White Hart Lane between Tottenham and Liverpool kicks off in just over an hour. Liverpool are 11 points behind the leaders Arsenal, with 3 games in hand. Some team news for tomorrow's games. Viv Anderson is poised to make his comeback for Manchester United at Nottingham Forest. Anderson's appeared in only 1 full league game this season. Aston Villa are likely to be without both Gordon Cowans and Alan McInally at Queen's Park Rangers. Both are injured. And experienced goalkeeper Paul Cooper will make his Manchester City debut tomorrow at home to Stoke. Some news from earlier this morning. The American rider Kevin Schwantz won the opening 500cc motorcycling Grand Prix in Japan. He beat compatriot Wayne Rainey by just half a second. And the IBF middleweight boxing champion Michael Nunn successfully defended his title in dramatic fashion when he knocked out Sambu Kalambe, the former WBA champion, in just a minute and a half of the first round. That's all the sport for now. There'll be more with the latest news from White Hart Lane after the news at 3 o'clock.
Music to make your day on Radio 2.
Now, with his weekly celebration of the art of the songwriter, here's Benny Green.
Good afternoon, and I begin with a grumble that regular listeners will greet like an old friend. I refer to the gratuitous insults to the memory of old songwriters by researchers too idle to find out who wrote the songs they're peddling. This particular omission especially grieves me because of the fun we had in this space a couple of years ago hunting our quarry. The theme then was British songs, and one of the less well documented was something called Your Blase, which has been sung by several of the best singers, including American artists, who probably don't even know it's a British song at all. Even Sinatra never included it in his great songs of Great Britain, and I sometimes wonder if he rejected it or simply hadn't heard where it came from. The new CD issue of Ella Fitzgerald, which includes Your Blase, credits it to somebody called Sevier, which is like crediting the Mikado to W.S. Gilbert. Sevier isn't wrong, it's only half right, and it would be a shame if people innocently assumed that Sevier composed Your Blase. He didn't. Bruce Sevier was a lyric writer who specialised in translating European tearjerkers into English hits. The music was the work of a man called Ord Hamilton. And when I asked listeners for information about him, all kinds of confusions emerged. One man said he'd known him, but had always thought he was talking to Lord Hamilton. The impresario Sir Peter Saunders, who knows more about these things than most people, wrote a kindly note explaining Hamilton's lively career in the 1930s on the London stage, writing review songs. And another correspondent wrote in saying he once came across Hamilton in later years, managing a pub and playing the piano there. It sounded a bit sad, that. Maybe the man mixed him up with Lord Hamilton. Anyway, Your Blase, which used to be mispronounced by some dense singers as Your Blaze, who used to then complain there weren't enough syllables to fit the tune, is an excellent piece, and it's welcome to have Ella doing it on a compact disc compilation, even if Mr. Hamilton is slighted by omission.
You're deep, just like a chasm. You've no enthusiasm. You're tired and uninspired. You're blasé. Your day